All right, so we're just gonna do some quick introductions here. You probably know most of us. Some of you might be new, just popping in. I'm Frosty. I'm EU moderation lead. Yep.
I'm Mountain Dew. I'm one of our two NA mods.
And I'm Grey Clock, the other last standing North America mod.
All right, so our intentions with this meeting today is to finally give back to the community what's been asked of us for so long that I can't even remember. We are going to be quite a bit more transparent with how we are planning to do our seasons forward. Sorry, I'm a little bit under the weather, so I'll try and mute between those snuffles. But I've started working on something about 2.5 weeks ago, which I will be posting in the public season 10 planning channel in a second. You'll be able to access and view our ongoing projects, to see what we're working on, what our ideas are, things that we are considering, things that we will be changing. So you'll be able to follow us pretty much from the very start of planning the season. I started this 2 weeks ago, which Mountain Dew and Grey Clock haven't. I've just been wanting to get a bit up to date myself to like just keep working on it a bit, like get things going quicker when it's time. And as much as it's nice to have a break between seasons, I have been actively trying to decrease the off seasons by a lot. I believe I managed to do that. But we'll talk a bit about that in a second. Right now, I'm gonna give you guys a link so you can actually see what we're looking at. So if you open up, it might be a little bit slow to load in everything, but you will be able to see it. So on the deadline section, I've put ourselves up for deadlines. Those will be updated as we figure out what deadlines we need to meet, what we plan to do between weeks that goes towards the season start. Below that, we have concluded in 3 potential season starts. The 6th of June was first option. We were thinking a very short off season, running some off-season events maybe, try and get some new maps going. But that made me think about VRML being a lot of teenagers and kids that's still in school. So we discussed pushing season 10 start to July 4th. I know that's a big day in America, but it shouldn't impact the start, as the matches are usually just announced on first day. You'll be able to see what we're about to do on the second column. This is not everything yet. I've just been adding stuff as I've seen things that needs to be done. Third column is working on. Fourth is completed. Then options considered. I wouldn't quote us on anything that's put into options considered, because that's what exactly they are. We're just considering them. So I know people could be like, oh my god, it says roster increase, but it's just an option we're considering. It's not something we're decided yet that we'll do. So don't quote us on options considered, because we are just considering them. But we'll be looking for feedback from the community. So if there's something that you think should be in the category of options considered, then feel free to let us know, and we'll add it on. We'll discuss it. We'll open up discussions between mods and community and try and figure it out together. The next column is rule changes. Those are rules we intend to make changes to. There's going to be some Discord rules changes. There's going to be some website changes. Exactly what and how to formulate them and all that stuff, we're not sure yet, but we're working on it. And what's never done before, the Season 9 feedback. Everything from the feedback form is in this column. You'll see the poll results, you'll see the map results, stuff like that. And then when we are concluding a vote change, then we'll put it in change votes, which we'll be voting on to make happen. And that's basically ClickUp. You will be able to follow us as we're working on Season 10. This channel, Public Season 10 Planning, will also be made public for you guys in a very short second. So you're able to chat. I would prefer if everyone is able to stay on topic with this channel. I know that's a bit too much to ask for. But yeah. We'll also gonna be discussing a little bit about the Season 9 feedback, Season 10 improvement, general information about lead moderators and moderators, and then we're gonna have a Q&A in a bit. So I'll open this channel up real quick. Let's see what you guys, if you have anything to say. So you should be able to type in the channel now. Unless I messed something up. Yeah, there we go. We can but won't. That's fine. Yeah, so we're just gonna do some brief explanation about moderation lead. That's me and Greyclock for the moment. We are essentially a bit more in charge of the overall structure and planning and how Pavlov VRML is run. We oversee the league moderators. We oversee like those important changes that needs to be done to Pavlov VRML. We'll also be discussing, also have been discussing, to add community ambassadors, which was one of Mountain Dew's ideas. He can tell you guys a little bit about that if he wants.
Yeah, so essentially, I think good ideas tend to get drowned in the mix of all the ideas that people throw at us. So one thing that we don't really have is a filter for good ideas and bad ideas. So one potential solution for that is creating a community ambassador role. And essentially what you are is you're a trusted member of the community that people can go to if they have an idea, but they don't necessarily want to bring it straight to the mods, especially as the more transparent we become, the more we're just going to get flooded. So with the community ambassadors, they kind of take whatever ideas come to them from the community, filter through what's pointless to bring up, like increase the prize pools, or let's get, more teams in the league, stuff that we don't really have control over, and then take the stuff that the little nuggets that are actually really good ideas, or things that maybe we've overlooked, or potential problems with ideas that we've implemented that haven't been addressed, and bring those to our attention with the understanding that anything that these community ambassadors bring to our attention gets our full attention. This also is a really good way to kind of become like a testing ground for potentially new mods. So that way, instead of having to apply every time there's a moderator position open, we already have a potential pool of moderators that are just being trained to become moderators. So it's an open idea out there, but it's something that I think fills a role we don't really have in the Discord.
Perfect. And I've also been looking into and thinking about assistant helper role in the Discord. We do get in a lot of, like, for example, Shack players. People was wondering how do they make teams, how to join a team. I mean, we do have the Q&A channel. It should answer most questions, but I'm thinking about having an assistant helper role, which essentially is just being helpful to players popping in, current teams. I'm looking for people that can fill this to be knowledgeable about VRML. They know what's going on in VRML. They know how to answer for everything. It doesn't necessarily mean to be at a moderator level, but you're essentially a very active community member that likes to help people, and we want to recognize those people willing to help by having their own assistant role. So yeah. Do we have anything more to add about ClickUp for the moment?
I guess I can say the ClickUp is pretty customizable for us, so we can choose to show or hide things as needed. So a nice thing about this also will be legacy. So if someone on the mod team now decides they no longer want to do this sort of work, it gives us some legacy that we can pass on to the future, to future moderators. That was probably one of the most frustrating things for myself when I agreed to do this, was there's really nothing that shows what or how things were done, how things were done before, why decisions were made. So we're hoping this can kind of help give a guidebook to those who come after us, because we won't last forever, obviously, and we want the league to continue to grow.
Yeah. So adding a bit to that, you can't see everything right now because I've only given you access to what I've actually started working on. But I'll post a picture in public season 10 planning, so you will be able to see all the documentation we're able to do, which we can pass on to the next moderators if we all leave and we find new moderators. I would also like to give this opportunity to say we are in need for more moderators. As you can see on the ClickUp, we are looking for 4 new moderators, preferably 1 NA, 1 EU, and APAC, or 2 EU for that sake, or 2 NA. I mean, we aren't picky. We just we want to be able to help the community. The 3 of us, we have been doing, I would say we had a good season. It's been rocky. It's been tough.
Had some surprises.
Had some surprises. It's been a learning curve for us all. We all joined the mod team just before season 9 started, and I think Mountain Dew joined a couple weeks after. So it's been a huge learning curve for all of us. Don't worry, we do have, well, I have at least, written down a lot of the negativity that we unfortunately caused in season 9 to improve ourselves and improve the Pavlov community scene for season 10 and seasons to come.
And I'm hoping this ClickUp system will help avoid surprises that I think have frustrated everyone with in the league. I mean, this will help. You'll know exactly where our minds are going, and we won't be dropping something on you the day before or a week before something like the finals.
No, so as soon as we have season 10 good to go, it's ready, we announce the date, we'll already start working on the open qualifiers, closed qualifiers, semis and finals. You'll be able to follow that progression on the ClickUp at all times as we're working on it. So transparency is here, but we also require the community to also give us a hand. Make sure you check the ClickUp. Make sure you give us feedback. If it's something you don't like, tell us. We work much together much better together if we all come together and use our minds and experiences and knowledge and everything. So I see we have a statement, more or less a question. I wonder if a community ambassador should be more focused on the non-VRML Pavlov community. league can't grow unless the player base as a whole grows, which is a good point. That's definitely something we can look into. Yeah, there is platforms around. I know there's a lot of like communities. Like we have a whole Russian server, a French server. VRML has looked for translators, so essentially later on we will be translating all of Pavlov VR to multiple languages. It will be French, Spanish, Russian, all those languages. It will be much easier to reaching out to those communities as well then when we have translations in place. But that's definitely something the ambassadors can also do, to go and reach out to communities they might know of or heard of. Or so yeah, I really like that idea.
You know, and I'm willing to support if there are community-based events, like if your team is going to host an event night. I would need to check, make sure that we can actually do this, and I'd be happy to throw support in that direction from the VRML Discord if it's going to help, you know, generate some interest in the league. I think a good example that I can think off the top of my head would be like the Friday Night Fight event that Night Shift hosts every Friday. Events like that, I think, are really good ways to get maybe people in the community who aren't league yet interested in league play. If they can stand us for an hour and a half on a Friday, maybe they'd be willing to play a little bit more, you know?
Absolutely. If any of you guys, we'll do a Q&A. So you'll be able to request to speak. We'll put in those that wants to have a word or a question or something. If you don't want to speak, that's fine. You can type it out in the Season 10 public channel and we'll answer it. Don't be shy. All right, CT. There we go.
Yeah, I'm new to this one. This is weird. We got 5 hours on the frickin' slow mode, so I can't type in my thing, so I decided to raise my hand. Matchmaking support is one thing I think of, because if we can funnel players towards that direction, new players can see if they're competitively ready to play and whether they're interested in playing competitively. So if you're trying to sponsor events, I might point in that direction too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We have been discussing, like previously, in the Discord Pavlov rules, it states that we are not allowed to promote servers or events that is not Pavlov VRML related or sponsored by Pavlov VRML. We aim to change that. We're discussing what we're updating the rules with before we actually just chuck in an addition on the rules. We just want to rework all of it together. But like you said, there's a lot of communities, like the Friday Night Fights, I think it is. There's also the VA server with the Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday events, I think it is. There's matchmaking. So there's a lot of community stuff happening that we can definitely promote and encourage and give incentives to chase down.
I think another thing would make a VRML open Pav night. If somebody can put that together, like Arctic used to have, like Wednesday night open Pavlov night. Whoever you are, you come in, you split up into groups, and you play some Pav.
Awesome. Yeah, I like that idea. It's definitely doable.
All right. Well, that's all my ideas. Thanks for having me up on the stage.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, building that community interest through matchmaking. If we can figure out the magic around, you know, legality of us linking and all that kind of stuff, I think it's a good thing. No matter where those players go, building interest just basically in the competitive Pavlov is what we're interested in.
Absolutely. Does anyone else have any questions they would like to ask? Any feedback? Any criticism? Let us know. Jado wants a word, so let's have him in here. Hello.
For this amazing opportunity, Frosty. One thing I wanted to mention was ringers, because one of the biggest struggles for a team that's like hasn't got the best availability is finding a ringer that will actually play for them. And so there's a lot of inactive ringers, and I was wondering if they could get maybe wiped, like all the ones that are completely inactive, because there's so many in this Discord that don't play at all. And also one thing I wanted to bring up was ringer MMR, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because
So we did include this this particular thing in the feedback form, which is actually on the ClickUp now as well.
oh, nice.
So the majority voted actually for I think scraping the entire ringer section and have them sign up again, which would make them start from scratch. So they would have base MMR, which is 1,000, I think it is. There was also a majority vote for allowing any ringer as long as both teams agree to using that ringer. So you could have a former master player ringer for a bronze team if both teams allow it.
Yeah, that's one thing I was gonna say, because like it's the same as how you can waive a cooldown for someone who's just joined a new team. How if the other team agrees that that person can play, then that person can play, and I feel like it should be transparent with ringers too.
Yeah. So
You
that's
know, there was a
Oh, sorry, you go ahead.
so that's sort of a limitation that's beyond us just wanting to make that rule or not wanting to have that rule. It's a limitation it's a coding limitation, is my understanding, or it's at least the way things are set up. It would be challenging to be able to put any ringer in, just because we are going to be bringing a point system at some point, and so you will have a set of points assigned to your name and your ID basically that follows you from Pavlov to contractors to onward. And I think it would just cause confusion if we could have any ringer, because you could just go create an alt account and then use that. I don't know. There were some challenges with having any ringer as an option, was my understanding. But it doesn't mean we can't continue to ask for it. I mean,
All right, okay. Yeah, that's all I really wanted to ask.
Yeah, there is some limitation to what we're able to do with that. We'll definitely bring it up to Dakin, which has still control on the website over most parts of it. He will be able to let us know if it's possible to scrape it, start from scratch, all that stuff. So we'll definitely raise the question to him and check if it's possible to do. But if it
it's
isn't,
like the only thing we can't control. I mean,
yeah.
of everything in the league, it's that.
So
Yeah, that
we'll
makes
definitely work on trying to see if Dakin is able to do it. If not, then it is going to be a harder thing to do as a moderator made rule to allow it, because only moderators can add ringers out of MMR range to be put on the match page for the ringer. So that's going to be more tickets and more work for us. I mean, I'm not opposed to it, but it is an option. For now, it's still in the feedback form. It hasn't been done with anything with yet, but we'll definitely be looking into it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think that's all I really have. Other than maybe some Pavlov maps could have a bit like how Stockpile has advertising, but instead have like join VRML advertising just to try and get more people into VRML.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you see a lot of places like Nero's Lounge that have league maps, and people are aware of these maps and have no idea what Pavlov VRML is.
That's a good point. That's definitely something we can reach out to the map makers and see if that can be done.
I mean, I've definitely seen Flag make some good ones. The one with Goddamn, that was a good advert. Put that one on Stockpile's billboard.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, that's everything I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was a great idea. Thank you.
Mime wants to have a word.
Hello.
Hello.
All right, so I don't know if to ask already, but I'd like to know is how is it going to be chosen on what team is facing who?
That's more of a question for Dakin, I would say. He has
Are
an
you asking, like,
algorithm.
matchups? Like, are you asking how it works, or how we're going
Yeah.
to have it work next season? Like how it works
How we're
now,
gonna-
or
How are we going to have it work next season?
For now, I think it's going to be the same. Dakin's going to push the generation match thing on the website. We are hoping that something will change in the future, but we don't really know anything about it. So we are slowly getting more and more control on the website, but it is a slow progress because he needs to do it for all the leagues combined. So we have no clue if it's going to be changing or what's changing. But for now, Dakin's still going to push the same old button and generate the matches.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Just to kind of touch on that, though, one thing that I know has been more of a problem this season than what feels like previous seasons is just huge mismatches week to week that just feel like they shouldn't happen. We don't have a lot of control in terms of, in the moment, what teams get matched against which teams. But to Dakin's credit, one thing he's been very good about is listening to our feedback with these matchups.
Yeah.
The only thing we've been able to do to kind of like temporarily fix it without overhauling the entire system in the middle of the season is adjust team MMR to reflect a more reasonable skill level than what they currently have. I don't know if that's the approach we have to take for future consistent mismatches, but even though it does feel like our shadowy overlord is the one that makes all of the decisions, he's actually a lot more open to ideas than you guys might be aware of.
Oh yeah, I've been flinging in ideas at him all season, and he's been trying to meet every possible idea I had. So he's trying his best to work with us as well. With back to the MMR thing, over in Echo they have MMR recalc. That's something I can bring up to Dakin and see if that's possible to do for Pablo as well. That would allow for a team individual player based recalc to evaluate the team's MMR. So that's something we can bring up to Dakin as well. Like Mountain Dew, we could also, by request, lower or raise a team's MMR if it's obviously within reason. We're not going to give anyone 100 MMR because you want better matchups. But we can try and give the MMR range a bit more fairness, so you would get more reasonable matches. So that's something we can bring up to Dakin at least.
and we have done it before. This isn't just a hypothetical thing.
No, it's been done, yeah.
And it has helped.
Yeah. I see Kiwi wants a word.
Hi.
Hello.
I was wondering if the ACOG on the op will be unbanned this season, because I really want to use the ACOG op meta.
It can be discussed, but I won't make any promises.
You can't just turn your gun to the side and then not use the scope.
Well, then I can't. The ACOG has hash marks for 400 meters, and
it is a
long
freaking
range
good
shots.
scope. So
I know it was something that was voted on when the op did get nerfed. The consensus was to keep the current restrictions on it the same. Now that we've had time to really feel out the op nerf and see if it's something that's even competitive to begin with over the past couple of seasons, I don't see why we can't revisit that specific ban. I don't think any attachment should still be allowed, such as like red dots or hollows, but it's just not as dominant as it used to be when the rule was first made. So I don't see why we can't revisit it with a vote.
yeah. All right, he left. I guess he got his answer. Black Cat, if possible, new teams should be required to join the Discord during sign up. We lose so many teams to them not understanding what is happening after the sign up. Yeah, I've seen a few of those myself. I'm pretty sure that's something I can tell Dakin to do a. What would it be? It would be like something like when you sign up on the profile, it will prompt you to log in on Discord, which automatically invites you to Pavlov VRML. I know that's something I've done on some of the websites I've been doing myself. So that's definitely something I can give Dakin some feedback and ideas on trying to do. Because yes, I have received DMs where people are like, hey, this shit is not working. I can't do this, I can't do that because I can't find the server. Definitely that's something I can bring up to Dakin's attention, yeah. And I see Mira wants a word. Hello.
Hello. So I was wondering, say one team beats another, yet in standing or MMR, they're still below them. Would you guys be open to like adjusting that MMR, or is that more of a system change?
I think for a one-off, it's too dramatic of a change to just adjust their MMR when you factor in potential lineups for an entire team. If you have a lower ranked team that beats a higher ranked team that doesn't have their best lineup available that particular night, I don't see why the lower team should then be put on the same level as that upper team. But if it becomes a consistent thing, or it's just a flat out stomp, like your lower team just 30-0s the upper team, then I don't see. I mean, it just depends. If you have like a bronze team that beats a gold team and they just stomp them, then yeah, maybe we need to look at the bronze team's
Yeah.
MMR. But the silver team against the gold team and they just one up them that night because the gold team just has a bad night, I don't necessarily think that means the silver team is at a gold level yet. They're just getting there.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That was all.
Thief.
I'd love to see that. That'd be a nice problem to have.
Maybe an
Random team just-
event where for a week during the season grab random players and throw them into random teams to play a TDM week or a knife week, etc. Scheduling might suck, but like a fun week. Leagues like Rocket League play different game modes for a couple days just to break it up. I'm definitely not opposed to that because seasons can get quite stressful and hectic for most people. So a break from everything is probably a high request, which is also on the feedback form. A break during season has also been requested.
I feel like this isn't really something we've talked about, but I feel like when we run into weeks where there's major holidays involved that week, that can just be a bye week, and then we can just host like some fun thing that
All-Star
people who don't have commitments
Yeah.
still want to play.
We can do a
We have
mid-season
before,
break
but
and
we
just
don't.
do some
Yeah.
events during that week.
Has there ever been an all-star game, like a Pavlov all-star match, the best of the best? I mean, I know matchumaking.
I know there's been like
that, I guess I am.
I know there's been
But-
attempts of like a European Dream Team matchup. I can't remember who they were playing or something, but there has been like a lot of community attempts to make like a Rect equivalent team or something like that. And that's something we can host, an event where we pull the best players all around the world and try and beat the best team in the world, that kind of thing.
That'd be fun. So I guess I can share it. So I did speak with. So one of the nice changes of the governors going away and having lead moderators is we have direct access to the board. So I'm going to try to make it to a meeting every week for y'all. It's about an hour long of my own time, but it does mean we get to meet directly with those who control all this. And I did ask them what it would look like if we could try to put on, if they would, allow us to do a
mid-season event here, and they said just come up with a plan. And
So if the community would appreciate that, maybe that's something we can start looking at.
Absolutely. I mean, the board has been. We have had me and Greg have been to 2 board meetings now, and they're very open to ideas to improve everything for us and for them. So events, off-season events, and all that stuff, they're open to getting sponsors for those events. They just need a detailed plan, how it's gonna work out, if there's an interest for one, stuff like that. So we just need to come up with a plan and bring it to the board meeting, and then we can see what we can do with it. The boy Bloop. How should Shaq players who are just waiting to upgrade their PCs get involved?
watch Yellowhead videos.
Yeah.
Watch the league games.
Yeah. Watch Cast. Watch Yellow. Go look up Yellow Hat on YouTube. No, I mean they can. They can stick around and watch games, talk, and get to know the community. There's a lot of people interested in answering questions if they have any questions. I'm looking into doing some bot improvements to handle the Shack flow a bit better. When I'm gonna have time to do that, I'm not sure, because we have a lot on our hands right now with the season 10 planning. I need to do the AP system. We need to go through everything for season 10. We need to get it started, so we do have our hands full at the moment. We're gonna take a small break though. I think we all earned that, but we are well on planning season 10. And Jado, can we have championships happen on weekdays too and not exclusively weekends? If that's not okay, I think it helps with availability. I mean, I'm not opposed to it. People tend to have more availability during weekends though. Overall for like casters and games to be played. But I'm not opposed to trying it for a season. But it will need to be on the calendar from the start, where everyone can plan around those dates, you know.
It's also the casters. We use casters like North American casters will cast a European game, and vice versa. So that's also sort of the reason I think why we've gone for weekends for some of these.
Yeah. Yellow Hat wants a word. Hello.
I raised my hand and I joined at the perfect time, and you said my name. It's because I was gonna talk.
Matt Gamer to self-promote.
No, we already given him one promotion. You can get another one.
So I could talk about if you're a Shack player and you want to get into PC. I mean, there's always you can do AirLink or you can do virtual desktop and stuff. I mean. Both of those obviously do require PC, so if you don't have a PC, you can always just watch casts, watch videos, and all that. I was going to say, too, to go off of Jado's point, doing like a Friday, Saturday thing could work with like semis on a Friday evening or something, but at the same time, you have to consider the fact that people have work and stuff, and so trying to set up things and doing all that fun stuff is it would be a huge time crunch. And then like we were saying, I mean, we do have EU casters, but typically we've used a lot of the NA casters for some of the EU matches, and so we'd be working when you guys are playing unless we were working from home. So
like AirLink, all that stuff that works. I use a link cable myself. I'm playing on a Quest 2. It does require a PC, but there's options. Although that stuff can be implemented to the bot that I've have an idea for. It just needs some time to make it working, but definitely, yeah. Any other questions for us, Yellow Hat? He disappeared. Does anyone else have any questions? Just James wants a word.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, good evening. I have a few short comments I'd like to make. A few of these things have already been brought up by many of the people in the community here. So I'll be pretty brief. I think an event incentivizing new and original maps being made for the pool would be pretty beneficial for us here. I don't know how that would work, but I definitely like to revisit that idea because I definitely love to see some new maps in here. Original maps, you know, they're what make Pavlov, you know, different from like a CS:GO clone or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the second thing, last thing here, would be to formulate some sort of advertising campaign for Pavlov. I have no idea how that would work. Just throwing it out there, rattling something off the top of my head. Maybe you can have a VRML Spirit Week where people who manage to prove like the most amount of members introduced can be rewarded in some type of way. You know, it's up to the advertiser to decide the means of advertising, but any publicity to VRML would be great because like the amount of pub players who have no idea such an organization exists is pretty astounding. That's all I have to say.
Absolutely. On the options considered on the ClickUp, we have the idea of individual rewards, which has been discussed to have like best knife kill of the season or best highlight of the week. So we can definitely do like content creators or best recruiters for the league. That can definitely be included in individual rewards. Absolutely.
Yeah, all right. Thank you for having me in here. That was all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
I mean, as far as the new maps thing goes, I think that's just a huge problem across the board, trying to make consistent. For those of you who don't know, it takes a long time to make a really good map. And that's why we only have a handful of them. If you look at the Steam Marketplace or the workshop, all the maps that are out there that you've never heard of, there's a reason for that. The people that make these maps and make the high quality maps and support the maps, they're like the definition of a volunteer. Most of their work, they don't get anything for it except just recognition for the product that they put out. So creating an event, it's always the best way to get the community involved and, you know, source these new maps. But when you're asking 5 or 10 people to dedicate potentially hundreds of hours of their free time to make a map, and then we offer like a $200 reward, that kind of disincentivizes the work required unless they're just genuinely passionate about it, which we have a few of those people.
Yeah.
But most people aren't going to put in 200 hours of work for $200 unless they just want to do it on their own. But those people are already doing them without competitions being required.
Which really drives home the point that we need to get more feedback over to the developers on original maps they already have in the game. I do think that they, at some point, would be willing to work with the community a little bit more. Like maps like Bunker, I mean, I think could be good maps competitively if they weren't, you know, so big, for example.
Yeah.
But we've never given them an overwhelming amount of, you know, feedback. I mean, there's probably a few players here that do. Yellow Hat obviously does, but I know that I don't. I don't spend time doing that, and could it help?
Absolutely. I had a meeting with Junt a while back, where both of us had a chance to vent to another. And one of the things they were missing is how the Pavlov VRML scene is complaining a lot about the base game maps, such as Santorini and all that maps, that they are literally trash. I mean, that's not a way to feedback a map. Best way to feedback a map is to actually give them feedback to be able to make those good maps. And John expressly told me that they're very willingly to make the maps playable, good, strong, competitive maps, but they lack what we have. We have the knowledge, what makes a good map. So it's important that the community comes together and gives the developers the feedback they need to make the maps good for us.
Yeah, I mean, you guys saw what happened once we actually brought a tangible problem up to the devs about Santorini. It was down for like less than 24 hours before they patched it. So they're listening. They gotta have more than just your map sucks to work with.
Yeah.
And we individually as moderators have our ideas from our individual experiences with the map in terms of what makes it competitive and what makes it not as competitive. But we're just a couple of guys. Like we've very isolated opinions. We come from very specific teams that approach things very specific ways. Having the entire community involved, which admittedly we haven't really done a good job of trying to solicit feedback from you guys regarding dev maps. But having the entire community give real feedback and even kind of just, self-police what's real feedback and what's not, which another thing that the ambassadors could do, that really helps them feel like a part of the league. Because right now, they want to be a part, they just don't know how, and we're not really giving them a way to be a part of it.
Absolutely. I also see Piccolo has mentioned something. Have champs be scheduled like a regular game and be played anytime on Saturday or Sunday. Let teams play at 6 or 10 p.m. if they agree. Divide the championship prizes based on activity. If the APAC teams play no qualifiers, no quarterfinals, no semifinal, but go straight to championship game, they shouldn't be getting the same prize as NA team who had to potentially win a playing quarterfinal, semifinal, championship.
Well, to be fair, APAC did not have the same prize pool that even EU had compared to like NA being the biggest region. They had the same cash prize, but outside of the cash, they just got jerseys.
Pretty much, yeah.
So they are not equivalent in terms of what they receive for the size and the amount that it takes for them to get to the end. That cash split 8 ways, we're talking about like $40.
Yeah, it's not a lot.
It's not, the cash is actually the least important part of the prize pool. Most people want the headsets. The jerseys are a really cool souvenir. But as we get more sponsors, maybe that cash prize increases, but I don't think anyone's trying to win champs for the $45.
No, I agree. And Sheep Tank DM'd me. Me and Sheep Tank has a plan of our own to have a off-season event for those teams who didn't play open qualifiers this season. We'll be spitting in a bit of our own money for this. Just gonna be some fun type of event that we would like to give those teams that didn't get the chance. We tried something new this season. We did see the feedback. It wasn't always positive feedback. We definitely seen it, which is why we took the incentive to host a little off-season event for those teams that didn't get to play open qualifiers. It won't be anything like massive or huge, but we will definitely make it fun, engaging for all teams. More info on that I don't have at the moment, but we are in discussion of making that happen. It might not happen in the off season right now, but we're definitely looking into having a few of those games between those teams that didn't get to participate as a kind of like a off thing to just have some fun and feel involved. I'll get Lilo to post up some info on social media for that. So yeah.
It's like Spitfire has a hand up.
Oh, then let's bring him in here.
Hello.
Nope.
Hello.
Thank you for having me. I just wanted to make a statement going back to the point of feedback to Bankrupt Studio regarding maps. We can keep that consolidated to the role of community ambassador. So that way, any bit of feedback VRML gets, whether it is pertaining to the league itself or maps, goes through the same people, and they can consolidate that feedback to the right people. So we have both input from players to the VRML, and then we have VRML input to Bankrupt going through the same channel. It would simplify things.
Oh,
I think.
absolutely. That's definitely something we can aim to do. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're listening now and you feel like you have that relationship, start thinking about it.
Not gonna point any fingers, but Yellow Hat, you're awesome.
For sure.
Good suggestion, Spitfire. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And the Rogue regions shouldn't be split. Splitting the prize pool decreases incentive for new players to join. A larger prize pool would draw a lot more people in. Here and see you. I have included it in options considered to have either cross-region challenges or cross-region maps. As I said earlier, do not quote us on options considered, because that's what they are. Options considered, but it is being considered. If it's gonna happen, I can't say for sure, but it will be considered.
Yeah, I don't know how many seasons you've been a part of the League Rogue, but we used to have cross-region play for a while when it came to the championships. And actually, it wasn't really until like the last couple of years that we got rid of that for champs. Right now, the biggest hurdles, which are just really hard to get around, is server quality. Having everyone play on 150 ping just doesn't feel inherently competitive when nobody's used to playing on that high of a ping. And then the flip side of that, we used to flop. We would switch map picks. We would also switch server picks in terms of like server location. So you would have, an EU team playing against an NA team on NA East Coast server. Everyone except the people on the East Coast would be around like 90 to 110 ping. And then the map would swap, and we would go to EU servers, and you would have EU people on 25 to 30 ping, and your NA people would be at like 110 ping, best case scenario, but your West Coast players would be about 190 ping.
Yeah.
It's just extremely uncompetitive. Nobody has a good time doing that. I do think that the quality between the top of the EU and the top of the NA scene is comparable and really would benefit heavily from being able to compete against each other. But right now, there's just no way to make that competitive where you're not asking people to just kind of forget everything that you've been doing up until this point, because what you're about to do is just so weird. It's hard to actually feel like it's fair.
Yeah. I also did include on the cross-region challenges on options considered as an option. We could allocate two challenges to a team and write a specific rule that you can only use one challenge for EU and one to cross-region challenge. That's possible. That way we don't force anyone to do it. They can choose themselves. But a lot of the feedback from what I could see back when it was cross-region challenges was in fact the ping, which has been an issue all over all the other leagues, which is why they also have been trying to ramp down on cross-region and try and get in rules to prevent cross-region players and cross-region matchups for that specific reason, because the community did not like playing on ping, which is understandable, relatable. So yeah. But like I said, we're not gonna make any promises, but it is being considered. Yeah.
I think right now the servers just aren't there. I mean, there's obviously really large games that can make it work.
Yeah.
Because they just have the servers that can handle very widespread connections very fast. And maybe you're playing at like 70 ping instead of like 190, but as a whole, we're just not there yet.
Yeah. Me and Grey Clock will also bring up on the board meeting regarding official community servers for Paddle VRML to finally have those in place. So we have the rules in place for those. We don't have the servers. So that's definitely something we're going to bring up. That's been on my my list of things at least. So that could potentially help making cross-region challenges a bit more forgiving with more stable ping servers. So
I think it's interesting if you don't put the weight of the entire season behind it.
Yeah.
Once we have like actual tangible consequences for having to fight cross region, then it starts to like irritate people.
Yeah.
But when we just have situations where it's like, all right, you got a EU team versus an NA team, and it's, you know, for points, but it's not for rewards, then it's still fun. I mean, Rex a while ago used to scrim royalty before they became super dominant. And it was a little tough on us because we'd have to wake up pretty early just to do it. But we would do that, and it wasn't weird. It was kind of interesting to get to play against EU teams with the ping difference and also just see their strategies. Every region, believe it or not, does have different strategies in how they approach certain maps. So having that experience, I mean, it's beneficial for the league as a whole.
Absolutely.
But once you start having EU teams against NA teams and it's in the championships, and then it's like, well, we're not home, so we're going to have to play on an EU server twice instead of an NA server twice. Then that's when it's like, why are we doing this?
Yeah. Do we have any other questions? Otherwise, we'll probably wrap this up soon. From personal experience, anything over an hour, people usually gets tired.
A message from Bong Rips from Satan. I guess he's having issues with his Discord. It's more of a suggestion and ask, why don't we commission maps for the VRML that we could sell ads on billboards, etc. And, you know, commissioning maps would be awesome, but it's really expensive to commission a map.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking like, I mean, 10 grand would be cheap, honestly, for the amount of work that it would take to create a really good map. I mean, that's, yeah, so
technically what we could do is bring it up to the board that they could potentially either commission or buy the map from the map makers, so it's a reasonable price that the map maker could be happy with, so they can broker down a deal between themselves. We can bring it up to the board as an idea for them, absolutely, but it might prove a little bit difficult. But we could definitely bring it up and see what they have to say. It doesn't hurt. See, we have Kiwi, Turbo, and Yellow Hat wanting to ask. We'll start off with Kiwi.
I don't think there's a very good system in place for NA West teams playing NA East teams. Games are pretty much always played on East servers, where West teams have almost EU ping. And I know also that Central and West Coast servers, Dave got rid of them. So
that's something we can look at. I'm not actually too familiar on the NA side of things, surprisingly. But that's definitely something we can look into. I'm not sure if there's any rules on the website I get for that, to be fair.
I mean, from my experience, when I connect, being on West Coast, when I connect to an East Coast server, my ping's usually around like 80, which I don't think is that crazy. And that's at the extreme.
But that
It's not-
that could also be fixed if we actually manage to get VRML sponsored community servers, because then I assume Central would be the best pick. Yeah. So
playing with that ping isn't terrible or anything, but it would be nice if there was a system where a certain amount of games would be played on West Coast or certain Central or whatever.
Oh, absolutely.
Just a system where it's not down to just whichever server you happen to get, or if your team vote ends or not. Like, do you have to actually vote end it based on the rules, or do you not have to vote end it?
No, I get it. The biggest issue is just we don't have control, like as players, on what server we get. You just spawn in, look at your ping, you're like, oh crap, I'm on an East Coast server.
Yeah.
Like, once we have community servers, would go a long way with eliminating that issue. But until we have that, I mean, you're kind of just rolling the dice every time you load in.
Absolutely.
And, you could get East Coast servers 5 times in a row, but then the one time you get a West Coast server, like someone fails to load because it's a different server.
Yeah. But it's definitely something we can look into with community servers, and have a look at the whole scenario if we don't get community servers. But it's definitely something we can look into, yeah.
Yeah, nobody here thinks that it's a bad idea. It's just how do we make that happen?
Turbo is
Easy
next.
The most likely option is just we throw money at it.
Yeah.
Yes. I wasn't there at the beginning. Do you actually have recorded this?
Yes, everything is recorded. So I'll post that after we're done.
Perfect.
Then Yellow Hat is next.
Howdy. So on the subject of community service and all that, and we saw, I think in the top 8 for NA, that we had this issue that that a Dave server crashed right at the beginning of the game, and we didn't have like a set in stone way of fixing it. And I think, first off, community servers would be great to help remedy that issue, because then you can at least set every player's money. But just kind of moving forward, what is like the progress been on, like, if you have a server crash, what do you do, right? Is there any progress towards remedying that issue at all other than community servers?
So it's on the list of creating kind of like an algorithm of scenarios that require a specific solution. It's happened to me before on a really important game. So I definitely understand from a personal perspective that feeling of just like, what do we do?
Yeah.
When it does happen, but it's very rare, thankfully, that does happen. So it's not been something that has been something that's needed our attention directly. But this last instance, thankfully, it was only on like after round 2
or something. But even then, all the
no, I agree. It was definitely kind of like a cluster of trying to figure out like, what do we do about it? Especially since it just happens in the moment. So you kind of just have a luck of the draw to see if even moderators are available the second that happens, which is why we need kind of more algorithmic formula for how to handle the situation based on where you are in the map. It's something we haven't worked on specifically because it's going to take a lot of sitting down and like hashing out the rules, but it's a plan for over the off season, to figure out a real set in stone list of, all right, you're on round 4, and it's this kind of a score. Like, how should you proceed?
Yeah, because I mean, the beauty of community servers is that there's like kill logging and everything, so you can track like what player got kills with what, and you can generally figure out like what their money is and all that. And like, I mean, I don't know. I forwarded you the list of like the eco stuff. So, but
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that, community servers is just gonna have to come down to figuring out a way to finance a community server.
Mhm. And
Which we don't make money really, and nor do we have access to spending money.
Yeah.
Unless it comes from our personal pockets.
And even just the other thing running from like having run like the MM stuff is like server performance and people's like routing stuff to servers, because there are people who will have crappy routing even to like an East Coast server or something, and so it's like if you do go the route of community servers, like ensuring that their location is good, and then B, that everybody's performance to them is good, or giving people the option to use Dave servers or community servers. But I mean, the other joy of community servers as well would be, you're talking about like individual rewards and stuff earlier. You could have a whole log of that, of like all the kills and stuff, and like, say who got the most knife kills in the season. You can go look at that backlog, and somebody could theoretically be the person to like keep all the stats of that, and then you can have a way to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, nobody here thinks that community servers are inferior to Dave servers. I think we all wish we could be playing on a community server that we have control over, and we can really dictate the changes that happen in that moment. I mean, on a community server, we could even institute like balance updates our own. We don't need to wait for a dev update. But I mean, I think just getting one community server is a big ask for the league. It's not something we have asked, so I don't actually know the kind of ability we have to get those. But it feels like a big ask. And then you have a problem of how we decide who gets to play on the community server.
Yeah, because if you're realistically thinking about it, you're probably gonna need like 4 or 5 for America alone, and then a couple for EU, and then APAC's already got their own stuff. So
it starts. I don't know the running cost for.
They're not too expensive. I think like 5 EU, 3, 4 5 NA, 3, 4 EU, 1 or 2 APAC. I mean, APAC have their own. So those 7, 8 servers would probably be like $60 a month for decent servers. And Afterthought actually brought up a question that's we can bring up to the board when we're going to ask about community servers, which she asked, do you have plans to use the VML Patreon to fund community servers? At the moment, me and Greycloak have no information what the exact funding for Patreon will be towards, but we can definitely raise the question for the board on the next meeting that some parts of the funding on Patreon can be used to pay for community servers, or just VML as a whole pays for the servers. We'll definitely bring up the ask for community servers.
I think it's a fair ask. I mean, you guys are putting in your own money into this.
Yeah.
Pool.
Yeah. So let me explain.
Make the league better.
Let me explain a little bit. So before, prior to this shakeup with the governors and all that, when you would say, "Hey, moderator, can you ask for this or can you ask for that?" They'd probably send a direct message or make a post to a governor who may or may not get around to reading that in the next week or two, who may or may not be able to attend a meeting that happens once a month. And so the process to get feedback on requests like this has changed dramatically. So even though we can't say yes, this is going to happen, the questions like this can get asked and we can get answers a little bit more quickly now, and we can get a realistic project started instead of just trying to chase something that never materializes. So just really want to hit that home. Like, I'm excited about it. It's a really, really nice change, and it is giving back the league a little bit, I think, for the players. So as far as funding goes, like, we can't say yes to the funding, but it sounds like a reasonable ask. I mean, we'll ask.
Absolutely.
Patreon to support community servers. That's pretty simple. All right.
If not, we make our own.
Yeah, well, Frosty.
I'm not gonna. don't hold me to that.
Community servers. Like once we even get the ability to implement that, then that opens like a whole tier of like how do we run this? Who should we put in charge of this? Because then we can have like community referees. You know, if you're one of 3 mods isn't available, and something like this happens, like, all right, well maybe you got a referee that's available that can just go through the list and dish out what needs to be done eco-wise and round-wise to reset everything. But
Even just
No,
like
it's-
even if they just had like Archon access or something too.
Yeah. No, it's definitely
I mean,
on
there's some
our
challenges,
list.
but it's not. It's one of those things that we gotta wait for one shoe to drop before we can take
Yeah.
that next step.
Yeah. All right. I think we're gonna wrap this up. Please go over to Public Season 10 Planning. Go have a look at the ClickUp. Give us feedback. Give us criticism. Do you hate it? Tell us. Do you love it? Tell us. We want feedback because feedback helps us, which helps everyone. We are super excited to be already working on Season 10. I don't think we have ever managed to get a Season 10 started. Well, a season started so quickly as we have now. I've managed to get the off-season down to 4 weeks, which I'm happy to. But we will be taking the schools and teenagers in schools into consideration for starting the season to maybe push the season to July. That way, people gets to finish their exams. As always, go to school, go to work, play afterwards. But we are super excited. We think we're about to make some really good change that will help and improve Pavlov VRML as a whole. But we need your help to do it, and we're looking forward to moving forward with everything we have planned. So I would just like to say thank you all for showing up. I will post a video of the recording of this meeting afterwards. We're going to try and have these meetings more often because this has been super helpful. Have these Q&A sessions with you guys, and we appreciate everything that's been brought up tonight, and we're definitely going to have more of these later. So thank you.
Thank you.